that sounds cool too.
Definitely. Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and get started and hit record and all. And we have tons of people that are going to probably be filling in here shortly, but I'm very pleased to have Darla Kirchner with me. And, actually just want to talk a little bit about, the two of us actually really didn't know each other at all. And then along came BLAB, and we're both participating in a BLAB session. I think you were being interviewed, or maybe you were just a participant and I was a listener. And I reached out to you and said, hey, we should connect. And so we've actually been kind of throwing back the idea of, talking, whether it's by phone or by Skype or whatever. I think originally it was going to be by Skype. And then I thought, what the heck? Let's just jump on BLAB and let's talk,
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of the plan for the day is I'd like to actually kind of ask you a lot about your business and, your expertise as a branding consultant. And then I'd like to actually give others a chance to ask questions. So I'll open the seat a little bit later. And so I just want to say formally welcome to everyone. I'm glad you're here with us today. A couple of things I just want to share with you if you are new to BLAB, a couple of things that will really help us. If you'd like to ask a question in the chat box, all you have to do is use /Q and then ask your question, and it'll give a special indication that there's a question waiting. So that'll help myself and Darla, be able to watch for that. The other thing is, as you like what Darla's saying, you actually want to click on the props and give her lots of love. And the other thing I'd encourage you to do is go ahead and click Tell the Little Bird. And so while we're talking, if you could blast this out so that we can have as many people as possible come and watch the show, we'd greatly appreciate it. So getting all the formalities out of the way, I just want to say welcome to you, and I'm really happy to have you on board here today with me. And first of all, kind of if you can give us a little understanding of what your life journey has been in terms of what brought you to the point of becoming a branding expert.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here, and it's so nice to finally actually meet you face to face. That's why I love BLAB, right? I'm very, my journey has been just like most entrepreneurs. It's never straight. It's like this, right? To get where you need to be. I started out, actually, I have a degree in graphic design. So I'm a visual person by nature, and I started working in graphic design and pattern design in the corporate world for about 9 to 10 years. And then from there, I left the corporate world to start a family with my husband. And my first entrepreneurial job was actually doing daycare, because I needed to make some money to make some of the ends meet, because we went from a double income to a single income. So for us to be able to do it, we had just bought a new house, we had a new baby, all those things. And so that was about 21 years ago. And since then, I've always been into the visual arts and design. And I started doing more design work as my career advanced. So for the last, I guess, about 10, 15 years ago, I fell into an opportunity to be a designer for ceramics. And so I created my own line of ceramics. And so I had a brick and mortar studio. I had about 6 different people that were on my team. And it was wonderful. It was great. The economy was doing really well, and the economy wasn't. And that was like right after 9/11. And, it just was very difficult for us. I had a retail location, and I was in shops, about 35 different stores. I did wholesale and retail, and it was really difficult. And if you guys, I know most of us have all lived through that, and we've lived to tell. So I was able to, I realized, I saw the writing on the wall and thought, this is crazy. I could be at my studio. I have young kids. I have a husband who travels. I need to make different changes for my life. And so I made those different changes and decided that it was more important for me to be with my family and to find something that served me for my lifestyle, not necessarily working day and night for other people. And so I made a tough decision to close down the studio, and I brought it in house. And I realized then too that this wasn't exactly, it was not scalable. So it wasn't something that I could do, because I literally had to touch every piece. I hand painted functional ceramics and sold them all over. And so they were personalized, and I did a lot of wedding gifts and personalized housewarming gifts and things like that, platters and things and such. So from there, I realized that I needed to start thinking about online. The online world really started to approach me, and I started taking courses, and I started doing online memberships, and I started meeting more community there. And that is what really drives me. So I then started doing a lot of graphic work and making logos and designs and the whole branding, just all of that. It was deeper underlining, and that's when I really started investing in my own stuff. I'm a lifetime learner. I love to learn, so I've invested thousands of dollars into personal development, and as you could probably attest, so I've Ellie Duncans and Jeff Walker and all those guys, and they're phenomenal. So I've learned a lot, and I've been able to take that information and apply it to my story and to help other people. So I really believe that it's about giving, and you can't give enough. And so that's really what I try to do the most of. And so I love teaching and helping other online entrepreneurs or people who want to take their business and bring it online, so that they can understand the power of online marketing and to be able to magnetize their clients, so that with their message, and be able to share it with the world. So to me, that's what it's all about. And so I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and really full force about the last 3 years. And it takes time. It's not something, a lot of people come to me for social media, and they're like, I want to know how I do that and get my message out there. And you have to start back with the foundations of things. And so I'm sure we'll go into deeper with that, but that's basically my story.
And you're sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it. I love this. I can't imagine not doing this. I started teaching about 8 years ago, and I was going to go to school for teaching, and I paid my way through school. Took me 10 years to pay off my college tuition, but I did it. And I always wanted to go back for teaching. And so this is how I give, and this is how I teach, because I like to take all the information that I've learned and share it. So I'm able to do that with my online courses, and I work one-on-one with people. And I love that. I love doing that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That's me.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like an interesting story. We may have some people on the line or that are viewing us that are new to the whole idea of branding. So can you give them kind of an understanding of, what branding is all about, whether it's a personal brand that they're trying to build or a company brand?
Yeah. Well, basically, they both have the same basic foundations, whether you're a personal brand or a company brand. And coming from my history of having a brick and mortar, the essence of you are still the brand. So it doesn't matter if you are a brick and mortar and you have your own shop, you are still the essence of the brand. And that's something a lot of people have a hard time with. So, for either way, there are some things that you need to understand with branding, and you need to know, who you are is the first thing. And once you realize who you are and what your purpose is and what you're passionate about, and can really understand that, then you can share that. And then you got to figure out who the person is that you want to work with. So who's your ideal client? And that's something that I dive deep in with my clients with. Mm-hmm. And then, so branding is really the essence of who you are and what your business is. And it's your client's perception of you. It's not necessarily what you're telling people. It's what they're interpreting and what they're telling other people. So that's really what branding is. So hopefully that people understand that. So, and I'm clear. I'm being a little clear on that. So thanks.
Definitely. And is there a timeline to branding? I know the answer to this question, but I want to hear it from you. Can branding be done overnight, or does it take some thorough thought?
The latter. It takes some thorough thought. It is not something, I mean, I'm still, even as a branding person, I still evolve, and I've learned to stop being a perfectionist, because that didn't get me anywhere. The first year and a half of my life as being online, I realized that I had to stop trying to be a perfectionist. But it always is evolving. And I honestly, if I were working with someone one-on-one, I would not work with them any less than 3 months. No less than 3 months. It is not a quick fix. This is something that evolves as you evolve too. Your core message, your core purpose is always the same. But you know, who you serve and how you get it out there and what that is might change, and that's okay. And so your brand will change and evolve as you do.
For sure. And can the brand involve something like an icon or a tie, or, you know, kind of all kinds of different things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit it on the head. Your brand is really, it involves a lot more than just your logo. And so many people would come to me for, oh, I need a better logo. I need to have my tagline. I need to have my colors and my brand, and if they know what a brand story is or brand guide is. But honestly, it is what your tie is, and the shirt that I'm wearing, that's part of our branding story. So it encompasses a lot of that. So it's not just the pretty, what I call the pretty, which is your visual branding. You know, that's your logo, your tagline, you know, all the colors that you have. It's really involves in the wording that you use, the messaging that you share, you know, what you stand for, and coming up with your personality. Bringing your personality out is really, really an important part of the brand story that a lot of people don't necessarily, it takes a little while for them to get comfortable with that. So, yeah.
Definitely. Well, you had asked me actually before we started the session about my tie, and actually John was saying about the tie, but I'll tell you a little story about it, and it's maybe my branding story in a way. I was actually probably about 10 years ago, I was in a position where I was marketing online greeting cards. And I typically would attend trade shows and job fairs and things of that nature where there was just tons of people milling around and stuff like that. And I looked at the scenario and I thought, I've got to find a way to stand out among the crowd. And so I had kind of just stumbled onto, I was looking at ties, and I'm always buying ties, or I don't wear ties so much anymore, except for BLABs, of course. But back then I was looking at, you know, what is a way that I can stand out? And so I had decided, I come from Irish heritage, and so I purchased a shamrock tie. It has a 4-leaf clover down here on the bottom.
Oh,
and and so what I did is I started wearing the shamrock tie. I'd usually wear a white shirt and a shamrock tie to every trade show, job fair, you name it, networking event, chamber of commerce event. I would wear my shamrock tie, which after going to a lot of different events, I ended up soiling quite a few ties, you know, from hors d'oeuvres and different things. So I ended up buying 3 or 4 of the same tie, and I just kind of retire them, you know, when they became obsolete. But the bottom line with it is what I found was really, it was a distinctive way to reach out to people. Because when I went to the trade show, you know, I was shaking hands, talking to a lot of people, and I would use a 48-hour rule of following up with people. So every single person who I connected with, I got their business card, I would follow up with them, typically 24 hours, but no more than 48 hours. And I would call them and say, hello, this is Craig Campana. You probably remember me. I was the guy with the shamrock tie. And they would always say, oh, yeah, I remember you. And so it was a great lead-in to talk, you know, a little bit about, they already know who I am. And then I would ask them, well, tell me about yourself, you know, and so it was a great lead in, and I produced a lot of clients doing that. And at one point I had a team that I led, and it was kind of my requirement. I didn't ask them to wear a uniform, but I did actually purchase a whole set of ties. And for the women, we actually had a shamrock scarf that they would wear. So I became known in my area as the greeting card guy with the shamrock tie. So that's kind of my branding story.
Yeah. That's a great story. That's a great story. And that's the thing, is trying to find something that relates to you. That's your personal story, and being able to bring that out so that other people can relate to you. I think I'm getting an echo. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. You sound good.
Okay.
Definitely.
Because I'm getting an echo on me.
Definitely. Well, what I'm going to do is there may be some other people that have questions. I'm actually going to open the seat in case people have some branding questions that they want to ask. They can certainly call in. But, it's exciting to think of, people that are either branding or rebranding. I know I'm kind of going through that thing right now in terms of rebranding my website. And I have to be honest with you, I really was kind of stuck as to what I was going to do. And I didn't want to just stick with being the shamrock tie guy anymore. I wanted to be known as the BLAB guy. So, in my circles, the people that I'm working with, or the team that I'm working on, there are not too many people that are using BLAB. And so I wanted to be known as the BLAB expert. So I am branding my website as such, and creating all kinds of tutorials and things of that nature. So I'm kind of evolving as we speak based on the medium that we're currently using.
Yeah. And that's smart to do. Hey, are you there, Craig? I lost you. Maybe not. I can't tell. I don't know, Craig. I'm so sorry. I can't tell. So you are there, but I don't hear you talking, hon. I can't hear you talking. The whole thing froze on me for a moment ago. Yeah, it froze on me too. So I don't know if other people are blabbing, and that's the problem. Let me see. Can you see? Oh, so you can. Okay, so one of my friends and clients and colleagues, Africa, is on the call with us, and had to refresh my screen. Okay, so maybe I need to do that. Hey guys, can you guys all see me now? Let me know in the comment section, or give me some props just so I know that I'm here. because I can't tell because I just refreshed my screen. Thank you so much, Craig. Thanks, hon. Okay, I'm back, but Craig's not. Yeah, so waiting on Craig. Thanks, Africa. Thanks, honey. So, you guys, if anybody has any questions or wants to join us in the open seat, please don't be shy. I know that when I first started blabbing, I was asked to jump into one of the open seats, and it was a little intimidating. That's a whole other story, but I did it anyway. So don't be afraid to join us. If you have any questions, I can see that Diana's here. I'm so glad you're here, Diana. And it looks like Michael's here, maybe, and Raphael was here. So if you're just catching, if you're catching it when we're ending it, then know that you can catch the replay, and that way you can see what we're talking about here is about branding. And Craig asking me some good questions about what makes a brand stand out. And ultimately, it comes back to you and knowing who you are. So thanks. Lewis has joined us. Thanks for joining us, Lewis. So if you guys have any questions, please put them in there. You can put them in under the, just put the backslash and then put a Q. And then that'll prompt us that, to look over here on the comment section. When I do my blabs, I always try to do that and make sure that, make sure that they know. So, okay, so Africa is asking a question. Once you understand your audience, how do you move into colors and whatnot? So, okay, great question, Africa. That's a great question. So once you understand who your audience is, the first thing you want to think about is going back to your own personal. Oh, did we lose Craig altogether? Huh? Do you guys still see? Let me know that I'm still here. But I can't. You guys, if somebody could give me some props or tell me over on the comments section that I'm here. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Africa. Okay. So it looks like, Craig's going to join us back again. I guess, guys, we all have to be very patient with BLAB. There's probably a lot of other people that are on BLAB. There he is. There's Craig. Lost you for a second. We lost it. We kind of like just stopped. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can any of you guys hear Craig? Can't hear you, Craig. Everything is frozen again. Okay, we're gonna try it one more time, you guys. Hang on just a second. Can you guys see me and hear me? Okay, works fine, just can't hear him. Can you hear me? Hear you, not see you. Okay. Thanks, Social Biz King. Thanks, so you can hear me. Okay, great. So, Craig's gonna join us again. Thanks, Africa. Yeah, this is all, we all have to be really patient with BLAB because sometimes these things happen.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, all technology, as Africa says. Yes, technology, right?
Definitely.
So true.
Well, I'm hoping that somebody will actually jump into the seat if you have questions or anything like that you want to ask of Darla. That was one of the main purposes for this. I certainly, there may be some people that are in the mode of branding, or maybe somebody that has a success story to share as well.
Yeah, Africa is a friend of mine. She's also a colleague. She's a very dear friend of mine. She's also a colleague, and she's a client. And she did ask a question. So, Africa, do you want to hop into the open seat? She's not very shy, so I'm gonna
Come on, Africa.
Yeah, let's see if she'll hop in the open seat with us. She asked a question out. Once you understand your audience, how do you move into colors? And hey, there's
welcome, Africa.
But I do have to leave in a few minutes, so I have to be quick. So I asked the question because I know this is something when I was working with Darla through my brand, which she took me to like a big girl brand, okay, rather than what I had before. I had a deeper understanding of audience. I understood more of what my message was and my crazy personality, and I needed all that to shine through. And taking that and melding it all together. How do you meld that all together to come out with colors and logo and stylings and fonts and all that kind of stuff. How, once you have all those building blocks, how do you pull it all out to make a brand that's you and that appeals to your audience?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, you know, as Africa knows, when I work with my branding clients, a lot of times I like to, once they have all their understanding, they understand their why, their purpose, and who they serve, then we get into the fun part. And that's where you start to play with colors. And a lot of times they're colors that you like. You don't want to have a rainbow of colors. You typically want to have colors that are cohesive and that emulate, you know, your brand style too. So it's part of your personality. So the first thing that I would tell people to do is start a brand board. Start a either you can do a visual board that has colors on it and fonts on it that you like, or I always tell people to go to Pinterest and have a Pinterest board. Now you can make that public or you can make that secret. That's up to you. But you know, you want to make sure that you find brand style guides that you like, find pictures that you like, find quotes that you like, find people that you like to emulate, and then find colors. And then then you start to create a story. You start to see what visually appeals to you, and that helps me as a branding strategist and a visual person to help put it all together. So then what I would do is then put together a style guide to help them, say, okay, these are the colors that you like. These are the font styles that you tend to like. And then if it's something that I don't think that's going to really serve them well, because there are a bazillion different font styles out there, as we know. And so I try to hone in on maybe 2 or 3. So you have your main font style, and you might have 2 or 3 accent styles, and try to keep them clean and easy to read. Because the cleaner and easier they are to read, the easier it is for people to understand what you're trying to say. So, in Africa's situation, she had actually created her own font style, which was her own, and it was beautiful, but it was slightly hard to read. And so we had to take that and change it, and we created something that was more polished, but yet professional, so that it will attract the clients that she really feels called to serve. So I hope I've answered that question and give you guys a few tips.
I just think I know people are like, okay, if I get all that done, I still don't understand how it pulls together. And so I think you answered that really well. But I got to go do the taxi run, the mom taxi run now. So
all right. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Africa. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully somebody else will jump into a seat.
Yeah. I hope that they do. Because that's something that I really love to do is sharing. I love to share, and a lot of the times it's trying to find answering the right questions, but you need to know the questions, right? So I will survey my audience and survey my community to ask them questions and how can I be a better service. So guys, seriously, if you have a question, feel free to hop into the open seat. So because I'd love to answer them.
Let me ask you a question. As far as this day and age, everything being focused on online marketing and social media, in your branding experience, do you also suggest that your clients, get such things as, pens and cups and business cards and actual tangibles?
I think that's a great question, Craig. I think it depends on where your audience is, who they are, and where they are. So for me, the majority of my audience and the people that I feel most called to serve are online, or they're trying to grow a presence online and they don't know exactly where to go with that. So, having a pen, a branded pen, probably isn't really going to serve them as much. It's an investment that maybe they may not want to work on. But if they're going to conferences or they're speaking or seminars or they're networking locally, then yeah, maybe so. The biggest thing that I still constantly do is business cards. I do have clients that do have brick and mortars, and so I have designed menus for them and flyers for them and things like that. So those are things that, it depends on who your audience is. I just attended Kim Garce's Social Boom in Chicago. So I made sure I had a lot of new business cards and brought them with me. But other than that, everything that I need is online. So I make sure that my website is very much up to date. And that's something that I talk about a lot too. So, and that's all part of your branding strategy as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is it a good idea for people to put together a media kit?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. If they are, especially if they're a blogger, so then you definitely want to have a media kit and make sure that it's well branded. And when I say well branded, of course you want to have it in a clean, easy to read font that's similar to your font style. But you want to have your colors on there and your logo on there. But really, it's about talking in your brand style. So I get the biggest kick out of when they'll email me after I send out a blog or send an email and they're going, "Wow, I feel like I'm just talking directly to you." Because then you're speaking in your brand voice. So in your media kit, you want to make sure that you're speaking in your brand voice, in your style, and bringing out your personality. So that would probably be my biggest tip on that as far as media kits go. And having images, sometimes people will put images on their brand, on their in their media kit. I've not done a lot of that, I have to confess. I mean, but I know enough, especially if you're a blogger and you want to monetize your blog, that's a great tool to have for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How about press releases? Now that would be probably more on the local side of things, but certainly that's something that they can, express different methods of outreach, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And, press releases are not always the easiest thing if you're not used to doing them. A lot of times, and this is something too, if that's not in your zone of expertise or your comfort zone, hire somebody to do that for you. Just make sure that you have, put together a brand style guide that has, and I have them over on my Pinterest boards. I'm just Darla Kirchner over there. But I have them over there that you can get some ideas. And so that would be something that you want to put together too with your press releases. And if you don't know what you're doing, then, go to Google. If you're a DIYer, ask other people, but hire someone, because that is something that will make a big difference. I hate for you to go and spend all this time and effort and then not get the return on your investment. So it's easier just to hire someone to do it that knows that and can get that. But if you give them a guide, of your personality and your branding, then that will help them greatly to create something that is in your style. So.
Definitely. What are some ways that people can be really unique? Because I know unique is an interesting perspective, but can you kind of give some ideas of really what are some ways that they can stand out and not shamrock ties?
Exactly. Well, the first thing I would tell them to do is to be themselves, to be you. Trying to emulate someone else, I did that for a couple years where I was so inspired by someone. And, so it's about, learning to love who you are and be who you are. So as Askai Jones just said, it's about being authentic. And it is. It is about being very authentic to yourself and sharing that with the world. So, I share, it depends on where I am, where I am on my social medias. But I share who I am, I have a family and I have golden retrievers and I love to travel. And in fact, I come up to Wisconsin. Aren't you up in Wisconsin, Craig?
Yes, I am.
Sidebar. I come up to Wisconsin and I go to the lake up there with our dear friends, and I'm a lake girl. I love that. So I share pieces of me. And so I think that is something that will help you to stand out more, because how many other people have bought that shamrock tie, right? So they're coming to you, Craig, because you are Craig. You happen to have the shamrock tie to help you stand out. But it's about bringing, being who you are and sharing, giving, being a giver, I think is really will help you too. But, sharing who you are and being authentic in your personality and your style will really serve you.
Definitely. Is a brand something that you should monitor from time to time and maybe retool, depending on, I guess how well your business is doing and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I think that it's in fact, I just did that myself. You have to look at where you're going and where you want to be. So I just literally went through a whole rebranding process for my own. I took myself on as a client and rebranded myself, because I knew that one of the things, it was my target audience or my ideal client had changed, and who I wanted to serve had changed. So I needed to create another persona, my ideal client persona, and then find out where she is and how was I best going to serve her. So, or him. Most of my clients are, my ideal client right now are women. However, I have to say the last 2 clients I did work with were men. So I don't want to say that it's one or the other, but yeah. But you definitely need to do that. You definitely need to reevaluate, and I would probably reevaluate, if you can, quarterly, and just make sure that you're still on target and who you're serving is right. And then maybe once a year, come back and look at it again and see if there's things that you need to tweak in your brand. So maybe, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, say, I have to do a whole new brand, a whole new branding with a new logo, and maybe it's testing out a tagline. Maybe it's using, trying to, and measuring what's working too. What seems to be resonating. So that goes into, quotes that you put out there, to tweets that you put out there, to different landing pages that you may be offering, or products that you may be offering, to see what's working and what's not. So.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned who your ideal client is, and in closing, wanted to have you give any resources that you can, either your website, or if you have an ebook or anything like that you can share.
Yeah, I do. I do have that. In fact, I have a community, and I welcome everyone here to join us. I say I'm a blogger. Did you say you're a blogger, Craig?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We got to talk about that too, so sometime later. But yeah, I love blogging, and it's about being consistent. So I found that was my way of giving back. So I have weekly blog strategies where I share tips, tools, and strategies to help people build a better presence online, so that they shine, and so that they can attract their right audience and get their message out in the world in the right way. So I have, I'll put this in my little thing. I do have a book. It's a guide more than anything. And it talks more in depth, and it kind of gets people started with put that in there. So it kind of gets people started to understanding, their key core elements of what they need to know, and to help them build their brand and build their brand awareness. And then through my blog, I blog every week, and I share that with my community every week. And I try to give them tips and tools. And I also do interviews. So we're going to have to go, we're have to flip it. I'll put you on the hot seat, and you can share all your expertise with my community.
Sure. Yeah. We should do one about blogging, because I have an interesting blogging story. But we'll have to cover that on a different show, I think.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. I'd love to talk to you about that.
Sure.
Yeah, because I also share branding, entrepreneurs on the rise. And that's something that I love to do is share with other people, so that they know that they're not alone. We're all in this, and just trying to help build that community. I'm all about that and building relationships. So I'm so excited to have the opportunity to actually talk to you in person, and hopefully share some tips. Thanks.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's the start of good things to happen. And in fact, I invited you to. I've started a Facebook group called BLAB Synergy, and just the fact that you can reach out to somebody on BLAB, and you find that there's some common element between the two of you. So I really wanted to create a Facebook group where we can get together on there and collaborate in different ways and that type of thing. So if you go to, it's BLAB Synergy is the group, and invited you to take a look at that. But yeah, definitely I see some synergies happening in the future, and things that we can work on together.
Yes, that sounds right. I put it in there. BLAB on Facebook. I will definitely join it. I would love to talk to you more. We're talking about blogging too. So yeah, because that's another way to share your brand. It really is. I had the opportunity to meet some wonderful people. Yep, there it is. Sorry, I misspelled it.
That's
Sorry.
Okay. No problem.
I had the opportunity to meet some wonderful people at the Social Boom Conference that Kim Garst put on last week. And one of them was Patrick, and she is a blogger too. And she said, blogging is really the heart of your business. And so I believe that. And so it really helps share your brand story too. And it's a great way to get it out there so people get to know you. And then they start to like you. And then they begin to trust you. And when that happens, then you've built a relationship with someone that wants to work with you. And typically they're your ideal client. So that works out really well.
Definitely. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate your kudos. That's really nice. I try to blog every single day, which can be challenging at times, depending on what's going on, in my personal day or the family or whatever. And a little tidbit of my story, I actually was in the process of trying to write a book. I'm a career diverted survivor. And so I was trying to share my story of, what happens when you have the rug pulled out from under you from a corporate job. And mine was the day before Christmas, which wasn't very nice. So I try to help people, along those lines. But I was busy writing this book. I was on the road. I was traveling. I was doing a lot of speaking engagements and just didn't have time to sit down and write. And this was like 20 years ago, back when you had actually audio tapes that you would record. Some people may not know what an audio tape is. No. But I record all these audio tapes, and I never took the time to transcribe them or anything. But I thought, one of these days I'm going to finish my book. And then it was probably about, 6-7 months ago, somebody said, if you're really having some concerns about finishing that book, maybe you need to actually start blogging and blog the stories that you want to share in your book in little snippets. And so I started doing that, and I found it to be very therapeutic. I've gained a number of clients who, saw my story and said, I can really resonate with you and I want to work with you. So it's been a tremendous experience. And, really blogging daily is a challenge, but I highly recommend it. I get up and I start my blog at 4 a.m.
Wow, you are dedicated.
Yeah, I start it before, I start the coffee and I start the computer at the same time. And I usually try to have it done by 5. In most cases, it's been kind of churning all night. So it's maybe only 15-20 minutes of writing. Right. And that type of thing. But I really highly recommend blogging. It's, a tremendous thing. And the company actually I'm working with just went online with, let's see, what night was it? Tuesday night, with a built-in capture page generator built into our blog. So we can actually just, with a click of a button, create a capture page that is immediately consistent with our blog and integrated into our blog. And, no additional cost involved. So I was like, yeah, I'm liking this. So anyway, that's a little bit about my blog story.
That's amazing. Yeah, we definitely talk more about that. Because I think, just like in everything, the biggest thing that I find with business, with blogging or branding or whatever it is being consistent. So for me, I knew that I could only commit to blogging once a week. And so, but I make sure that I blog once a week. And that's about all I can do between client projects and meeting new people and things like that. But it really does help develop your style and brings out your personality, and people will want to know you, and want to work with you or want to collaborate with you too. So yeah, and a lot of people have done what you're talking about, Craig, is taking their blogs and making them into a book. And I applaud you for that. I think that's amazing. And getting up at 4 a.m., you are very dedicated.
Well, I'm currently working a full-time job that I'm hoping won't be there forever, and I have to start that at 5 a.m. Okay. So my window of time to get the blog done is 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. And then I can be done with it and, go from there. And then I'm monitoring social media pretty much all day. Mm-hmm. And this particular interview is actually being done on my lunch hour. So I have a very busy day. but I'm hoping that I won't have that full-time job very soon, and I'll have, enough clients to keep me busy all day long. So,
yeah,
so that's my goal.
Yeah, you don't want to just jump into the deep end without knowing. And I don't know if you follow Michael Hyatt, but he's really good about that as far as like kind of like bridging your passion, taking from what you are in the corporate world and bridging it over and learning how to, to monetize and to make a living doing what you love. And so, yeah, you are the epitome of exactly that. So I applaud you for doing it. It's dedication. It is dedication. And that's something that I think as entrepreneurs, you're born with it, right? So.
Definitely. Well, and BLAB, I'd have to say, I haven't been able to sleep at night since I learned of BLAB, and I thought it was a great way to brand myself as a BLAB expert. So I committed to starting on Monday what I'm calling 30 days of BLAB. And so I'm doing a BLAB every single day for 30 days. Some may be interviews and some may be workshops. Some may I just be jumping on and having a conversation. But I'm learning a lot, and I'm reaching out to people that in some cases I haven't connected with in 20 years. I'm interviewing on Tuesday next week 2 best-selling authors, and I had a hand in contributing to both of or 2 of their books. They've written probably somewhere around 37 books, all bestsellers, and I had the privilege of contributing to 2 of them. So anyway, I am having them both come on BLAB and interviewing them and looking hopefully for a good audience that day. And so yeah, I'm all about BLAB. Loving it, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity to really reach out and connect with people.
Oh, I totally agree with that. In fact, I started doing Periscope about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I love Periscope. And so that's when I created my first Twitter, my new Twitter, which is just my name. And everything started to roll. And then I found BLAB, and it was just like you, instantly hooked. Have met some amazing people over here, and being able to connect with like-minded people. This I feel like is really much more my platform. I love Periscope, but I think I like having that interaction and being able to talk to people and being able to help people in the comments section and all of that. So like you, I'm doing a BLAB show. In fact, I'm probably gonna take you up on that. So on your 30-day thing, are you going to be doing that as part of your BLAB Synergy on your blog, on your Facebook page?
Yes, I am. Actually, what I'm doing with that is on BLAB Synergy, I actually invite people that are presenting on BLAB or either they're doing an interview or they're presenting a workshop to actually list their workshop. And so I have a week at a time. So I actually have date markers on BLAB Synergy where, so for example, today's date, I asked anybody that's doing something on BLAB to go ahead and list it in there. And I have probably 5 or 6 that have listed them. And I thought that's the greatest way to create that synergy. Because if you go on BLAB, you see, 47 million different people doing different things, and you really can't connect with them at that point. Right. And so with the Facebook group, I really wanted to have an opportunity to have people list what they're doing and then be able to take a look at it, react to it, say, hey, I want to watch that, and subscribing to it, and then connecting with them maybe before they've actually done their presentation as well. And so right now, I think we're at 24 members on BLAB Synergy. We just started it on Monday. And I'm hoping to have a really strong collaborative audience that we can all, create wonderful things on BLAB. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you're right there. I think it's a perfect way of doing it. I will definitely be joining your Facebook group for sure. And I'll share it with my friends that I literally, my online friends, I had to take them. I guess I'm really much of an early adopter, and I didn't realize that as my in my group of my tribe, my online tribe. But I was like, had to take some of my friends, like my friend Africa, who joined us, and kind of like say, come on, do a BLAB with me, come on. And once we did it, they're hooked. they're hooked.
Mhm.
And so that's a great thing. It's just, so I think, but I think you're right, and like we all know, BLAB is still in beta. It's only been doing this for a couple months. And so
Right.
I think by creating a core group and a Facebook group is an ideal thing to do, because then it really, because it is hard to find all those people and trying to,
Yeah.
trying to connect and stuff too, because that's really what it's all about. And I think BLAB and Periscope and just live streaming in general is really helping us all to connect and build relationships. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a key thing to do. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I was hoping the whole, synergy aspect of really working together would come really be supreme, as far as creating that Facebook group. And, I've actually had some very interesting people sign on to it, that some people that I've followed for a long time that are now really part of my group and I can interface with personally. And it's like, holy smokes, this is awesome.
Right. It's great. And it's funny you said that, because because as entrepreneurs, when we're online a lot, this is a great platform to connect, but sometimes you like to connect with people live. And so I've mentioned it a couple of times about conferences and being able to attend these conferences. And so this last one, most of the people didn't even know what BLAB was. So when I'm talking to them about it and they're like, oh, I want to do one, like, I'm happy to test it out with you, just so you get an idea of how maybe you could use it. So I'll definitely be sharing your group too, so that they can, if they find it and love it like we do, that they'll come and join, because I think it's again, it goes back to building those relationships and stuff. So that it's really interesting to me that there's so many people that don't even know what it is. And but I am finding that the people, when they find it, they get instantly hooked.
If I can share with you my strategy for my 30 days of BLAB,
Yeah.
I wanted to actually reach out to people that I have not connected with, whether it's been 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that are totally unaware of BLAB. But, once they understand what it is, or at least we set up my interview, in the case of one of them, he was a little uncertain, I guess, of technology. And so I really had to help him understand that it was going to be a good experience, even though, it's not going to be live TV like you see, you're on a TV screen, and we may kind of fuzz in and out and the browser may crash. There's going to be things that are going to happen, but overall, it's going to be a good experience for him. And so he agreed to come on my show to be interviewed. And I was really delighted. I actually put a graphic together, sent it to him in terms of what the interview was going to be. And he was so pleased with it. He blasted it out to all of his contacts, which could be hundreds of thousands of people. So I was like, well, this is really cool, so, so I guess that's kind of where I'm at with the 30 days of BLAB. I've actually reached out to people that I haven't connected with, that are not aware of BLAB, bringing them on my show. And I've created the Twitter handle BLABcast TV, as I'm trying to brand in my background here.
I see that. We'll have to talk more about that, Craig. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's the best I could do. My office is in my son's bedroom, and I didn't want to show all his belongings, so this is what I came up with to kind of cover it up.
That's a great way to start, and you can see it. I can see it behind you, so that's great. You got to use what you've got, right?
That's right. I didn't want to show, all of his stuff in the background. Although I wouldn't mind showing the Green Bay Packers, banner in the background, but
oh my God, that's so funny.
Because things are going good this year.
Yes, yes. It's a good thing my husband's not here, because he's a Bears fan. He's from Chicago. So we were there for about the first 6 years together, as a family, and our next door neighbors who happen to be our best friends are Packers fans, because he's from Oshkosh. And so we had our kids together in their little cute little Packers outfits and Bears outfits, and no two shall ever meet. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Very cool.
Well, anyway, I'm actually, believe it or not, coming up to the end of my lunch hour, but I hate to say that, but So I actually need to sign off shortly, but I just want to thank you so much for, the opportunity to speak to you and, see you live, ask some of those questions that I had, and certainly entertain our viewers. Hopefully some of you have heard some things that, have really intrigued you, and I encourage you to reach out to Darla and see if she can help you with your branding. I certainly will. As you can tell from my backdrop, I need some help.
You know what? The first part is putting it out there, and you're doing a great job with it, Craig. So I'd love the opportunity to talk to you more about that and talk to you about branding. And thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. And love to talk to you more about where we can take this to the next level. And I'm excited to be a part of your Synergy group on Facebook. I think that's amazing. And if you guys haven't connected to us, the people that are in our comment section, please just come up to the little man up here that's right by our name, and we'd love for you guys to follow us, and if it works, we'd love to follow you back too. So yeah,
excellent, definitely. Well, thank you again, Darla, and definitely want to say, be on the lookout for the 30 Days of BLAB. I have some interesting people that I'm interviewing, so you can check that on my website, which is craigcampana.com. I'll put that in the link there. And if you happen to be listening to the show today and you have an interest in being on one of my 30 Days of BLAB, I would greatly appreciate that as well. I do have some openings coming up in, late October, actually. So the 30 Days of BLAB is probably going to become the 45 or the 60 or the 90 Days of BLAB. That habit that I've created will probably take over. Who knows? It may be the 365 Days of BLAB.
There you go. As you were so good at blogging and being so consistent with it, I could see where you could turn it very easily into 365 days of blabbing. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Darla. And for anyone that recently joined us, unfortunately, we're ending the session, but you can pick up our replay. It'll be done on video shortly. And I said, is definitely take a look at the different BLAB sessions that I have coming on the 30 Days of BLAB. And very much appreciate you being here today, spending your time with us.
Absolutely. Happy to. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to get to meet you in person. And I look forward to building a relationship and sharing strategies. And I'm happy to help anyone here with their branding. So, yeah. So thanks for having me, Craig. It's been awesome. It's really a pleasure.
Thanks, Darla.
Okay. Thank you
for being here. Bye now.